Oh, the floor is open. If we have a floor, I guess we all have different floors. So what's happening? What are you noticing? How is savoring going to bring back our theme from last week that you've been practicing? All right, Leslie, unmute.
Okay.
We'll
So
just
I wanted to say something about time that we talked about last week.
time, yes.
Yeah. I have two things to say about it. My first thing is I never realized the specialness or the sacredness about time until 30 years ago when my sister died.
Mm.
And we were deeply close, and she was my only sibling. And she also was Jennifer's mom, Jennifer, that's in our class from St. Louis.
Oh, Jennifer's mom,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So it was a life changing experience for me in the deepest, most intense way. And I went through it. And it was only, I don't even know how long afterwards, it could have been years afterwards, but I realized the sacredness of time. And it was only time that healed me. Well, I can't say only time, but the healing that time did was so special. It just really made me appreciate time in a different kind of way than ever.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing is that I noticed about time is if I have a project and I do a little bit of it each day until myself feels tired, myself knows when to stop each day. If I do a little each day, it always magically works out that it's done on time. And I never have to worry because if I just do a little each day, it just works. So that's my two things about time.
All right, thank you. Those are
Yeah.
all very, very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, way time heals. All right, Donna.
Yeah, so I have a question. I think I dozed a little bit tonight in the middle of the first meditation and I woke up in the middle of the heart thing, and I'm wondering if you can be a little more specific about what, like, if we're going to give ourselves an instruction or a prompt while we're meditating, is it really taking the energy from your head and moving it down here, or is it moving your focus to the energy that's already down here?
The way I
Or
do
is
it
it
is,
something else?
yeah, I mean, you can do whatever works. But I
Hmm.
actually think of it as moving energy when I do this with the
Hmm.
palms. Um, it changes a flow of energy. First of all, just these points, they have a flow to it. So when you, even without doing the head thing, if you just have your palms out in front of you when you meditate and focus them at the heart, it starts this sort of energy moving and it allows you to just be in your heart better. So, and it will draw the energy down from your head without having to do this little thing. But I add that because I do think it affects something in my experience. And you could look at it as you're just focusing on the energy that already is in your heart. I think that's a legitimate way to think about it. Um, but it's not how I tend to teach it. I tend to teach it as, you're actually drawing something down, filling it with something as a way for you to notice what the heart already is, this place of connectedness. So the heart is already connected. It's the aspect of our conscious intelligence which knows connectedness. And we ignore it all the time. We are culturally conditioned to ignore it. And, sometimes when I lead this, what people notice happens inside them is something says either this isn't real. So the head, who thinks it's the judgment of what's real and not, says this isn't real, or it says this isn't safe, which is probably, the two are probably related. The head probably says it's not real because it doesn't feel it's safe. It's not safe to be open here. It's not safe to actually be in your heart. Many people believe that. And, through trauma, oftentimes people come to that conclusion. It's not safe to be open. It's better to be closed. It's better to be hardened. But there's such a price. Such a price. So is that helpful, Donna?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And Lynn.
I just wanted to say thank you for that practice. Just did it exactly the way you said it, and I just recently started to take a qigong class, and so I already knew I could feel energy, because just feel it in that, and just following all those steps was very powerful all the way through. So I thought it was kind of cool that you could literally even envision pulling energy out and into the heart, and it was great. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not any expert on the whole Tai Chi world, but one little thing that kind of stuck with me is that attention is kind of a movable energy channel, you know? And so wherever you put your attention draws energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Can feel it. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. You're welcome. And Beth.
Hi. Speaking of the heart, I like to take walks, and I've noticed that when I'm passing someone, whether it's they're next to me, and I'm going the same direction, or they're opposite me, I'll just bring my visceral awareness into my heart space. And more often than not, the person will smile or say hi or whatever. And it's not everybody, some people have this tightness about them, but more than I think would just be coincidence. And it's almost instantaneous with me remembering to drop into my heart that they respond.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. Beautiful that you noticed that. That you noticed that ability. It's, again, I don't know the science of it. Some people have tried to measure the heart's, what is it? It's how far its actual magnetic field goes, outside of you. But it's my sense that your openness affects other people. We have this ability to be connected on levels that are not just our, most conscious kind of levels. We feel other people's energy. So it makes sense that you will affect people even out for a walk by kind of where you are in your being. When I was first, really learning about and exploring these three different kinds of energies, I would go for walks, really consciously attempting to walk from the heart. And I don't exactly know how to describe how you do that. But by focusing on this area and kind of walking with this area open, I do that. And similarly with the belly, I particularly like walking with the belly, like just an awareness of the belly energy walking. And it's very different. And what I sometimes notice that if I'm not very conscious and I'm walking, my head kind of goes forward a little and I'm up in my thoughts, It's like the head is leading. head is leading, but the heart can also lead. The belly can also lead, not necessarily by pushing it forward in your body. I'm not suggesting that, but it leads energetically as you walk. So thanks. That's great that you noticed.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. It's part two of how we regulate each other. We all know there are moments when we're upset, and just the presence of another human being tuning into us and attuning to us has a remarkable effect. We can settle down. We can, talk about what's happening in a different way. And we find that their presence allows us to come back into presence. That's a very common kind of way that I think this works. And, I'll also say this is how service animals work. All those sort of studies that show how great pets are for your well-being, how they bring your blood pressure down and they slow your heart rate, and all these measurable sorts of things that you're really co-regulating with the animal. Something about the animal's presence, non-anxious presence, even loving presence. I do think animals are capable of love. That begins to shift where you're at inside, shifts your nervous system. All right, Bryony.
Hi. I'm really appreciative that you led that after the meditation. It felt like instead of a doing, a trying, it was just this allowing. Like the mind couldn't get it, but there was a trusting, energetic, felt sense. And all the prompting, I actually made notes because I'd love to do this on my own. It was so restorative. Back of the heart meditation, I've never experienced. I've experienced that sense of oneness or universal love, and I was feeling filled with this sense of well-being. And then when you said all is well, I was like, yeah, that's what this feels like. It was so restorative and restful. And I had a strange kind of image felt sense of like this ancient place in Scotland. Scotland's one of the places I've been that felt strangely like home, almost like a past life thing. So it was just this ancient home, this feeling of being at home, spacious and restful is like so beautiful. So I'm really appreciative.
Beautiful. I'm glad it's recorded for that,
Yeah.
so you really can go back and listen to it again and again if you want. It'll be put up on YouTube eventually, so you can go to the Bodhisara YouTube channel, even when it gets taken off of Zoom, as it eventually does, and repeat it till you kind of have it in your being. This is. And I'll just, kind of underline a couple of things you said that I think are really important. The head's not going to get it. It's just not going to understand. But if you trust, that was the other word I wanted to underline. There's a kind of trust to follow this. Something in you knows what I'm talking about. It's not our conceptual mind. Something knows this and can follow it. You just have to trust that. not let the head block you.
Mm.
Okay, thanks for your
Thank
report.
you.
I'm happy to hear you had such success with it. Our hearts are so powerful. Just felt like saying that. There's so much power there. There's so much wisdom there. And it comes already installed. You know, it comes with the basic package. So it's wonderful when people begin to realize what they're really carrying around inside of them, what its real potential is for wisdom, for peace. Jasmine. You gotta unmute, Yasmin. We haven't heard anything yet.
I wanted to report on savoring during the week.
Great.
It was difficult in the beginning, especially when, things were overwhelming and difficult, and I had aversion, and, I'm very aware of those things happening and saying to myself, well, what can you find to savor? And it was like, there's no way I can find anything. So I'm like, how can I find a way to do this? And so I do another meditation group, and one day the first thing that was led with was simply breathe. And so I had that like in my head. And so I used it when like things were tense and I was thinking about savoring, and it just slowed everything down just to say that to myself. So that was helpful. And it got me to the place where I could find something to savor. But the other thing that I noticed was this whole discussion of time, that I am like driven to get things done because I feel like there's not enough time. I can relate to that so much. And I remembered that I had learned in, a very uncomfortable and difficult circumstance once. I ended up saying to myself, go slow and take small steps. So I started saying that to myself when I felt like this kind of energy take over that was aversive and just like consumed me, in a negative way. And that changed the kind of, oh yeah, I needed to slow down first before I could find the space to savor anything. So that helped. And then the third piece that I discovered was I often think I'm right in making decisions, my husband has dementia, and like he'll say, "Oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this." And he becomes like really stubborn about it. And so we were having one of these discussions, and I'm like, I was about to say to him, like, "You're so stubborn." And then I'm like, well, I'm being the same way. So I'm like, what would happen if I just like, okay, let's do what you want to do? And and so I started to like surrender more to understanding what wasn't really important, like just surrender, or what there was no point in like getting what I thought was right. There was just no point to it, that I could surrender and everything would be fine. So those were the three things I discovered.
Those are beautiful. Those are really hard-won wisdom points that you're sharing with us. Thank you. Yeah. And you're right about you have to slow down to savor. You might not have to slow down as much as you think. In other words, there's kind of momentary slowdowns that can happen. You don't actually have to like, whatever people think about slowing down might be way too much, but just a moment of stopping, moment of slowing down. Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I love hearing these stories that really are about what you learn in your own experience. I can point to things, but it's what you actually take in and apply that is going to really matter. So I appreciate it when any of you share them. So, anyone else? I'm kind of inclined to just do a last little meditation here. We have about 5 minutes left, and it feels like a little recap would be good. So, if you'll just close your eyes, and if you find the hand thing helpful, come down, lock in at your ears and come down, or just put your hands in front of your heart. Do that. Just come into the heart area, to the energy of the heart. Even if you don't feel these things, just imagine them. Imagine the opening forward, like you feel affection towards someone. Feel or imagine the opening backward. You might feel as you breathe like you massage the heart each time you breathe, because you do. The heart rests on the diaphragm. Just resting in the back of the heart, which can mean just literally feeling that part of the body behind your heart. Noticing if you sense a connectedness in that place with everything around you. Again, don't worry. doesn't seem like what I'm talking about. Tends to be the head that worries. Just trust. So you can do this just in similar way. You're noticing the breath, but your attention is in the heart area. But each breath actually massages that area. The lungs surround it. Open the ribs. And perhaps you have a taste of all is well. Like a deep well of goodness and well-being. Without cause, without explanation. All right, so as we close the class, I'll let you just go forth with that. I hope you have a great week. We have one more class before we break for the holidays. And you've probably seen the notices of the retreat. You know, some of you have signed up. If not, I'd encourage you to consider it. It's a lovely thing to do. And it's in person. Oh, amazing. All right. Be well.
Thank